What exactly does a bond originator do, and how can they help first-time home buyers?
So a bond originator is essentially like your home loan matchmaker. So you put the one and a one together. So basically what we do is we analyze all your documents, and then we assess your affordability. So we check your income and your expenses, and then we submit your applications to multiple banks at once. So that helps, instead of running around comparing interest rates, going to this bank, going to that bank, we go to all the banks at once. Okay, so for most first-time home buyers, this is especially an essential thing to have, is a bond originator, because a lot of first-time home buyers don't really know how the process works, what they can qualify for, and they don't really know the terms of the bank's process. So we help them clear that out. We guide them on what they can afford when they purchase a property. And it's all about reducing time, reducing stress, and improving their overall chances of getting a bond approval. You don't go into starting your house hunt journey not knowing where to start, what your affordability looks like. And I know a lot of rookie mistakes as well is a lot of the customers that are first-time home buyers will start to dive into looking into properties and not really know what realistically they can afford. So that is where it's our job to guide them on the proper way to start the process. So I personally contact my customers every day. I deal with them on a daily basis. If I need any additional documents, then I will ask them for the documents. And then once I get the documents, I will submit the application to the banks. It usually takes about 3 to 7 working days for a bank to make a decision. So they will start to verify the documents. Yet again, I will keep them updated the whole time. So it can take 3 to 7 working days. And then, once they've assessed the application, then usually the banks will approve based on their findings. But that doesn't mean that you are, approved already. So basically, after they have approved you as a person, then they will do valuation on the property. And then once the property is completed, then they will issue a final approval. And that is really where we start to do our job and start to negotiate and start fighting for the interest rate. So a lot of the customers really like the fact that you fight for them, fight for the interest rate, and not just do the deal to get the sale. It's really a personal impact that you make on that customer. And that's really something that is a very rewarding job, is to know that it doesn't matter what circumstances the customer is going through, you can really help them to achieve their dream and to move into the property that they really want by fighting for them and fighting for the best offer, the best rate, the best conditions. And after they've accepted the deal, I don't just leave it there. I basically guide them from acceptance to when the bond gets sent to the attorneys. I guide them from start to finish, from the preparation of the documents up until the registration takes place. So it's very rewarding if you get a customer that really goes through something challenging personally, and I've had a lot of experience with these type of customers where they go through something personally and they really need the property that they're purchasing. So at the end of the day, if you actually help them to get that property, it's extremely a rewarding job to have, to know that you meant something in their life and you did something impactful in their lives to help them. So we can talk about the rookie mistakes. I think one of the most important ones is diving into purchasing a property without knowing properly what you can afford. So I had multiple customers previously who just signed an offer to purchase. So they didn't know what they can afford. They thought by adding their income onto a calculator, they knew exactly what their budget was. And that could really set you up for disappointment, because you don't really know what income the banks consider, what is beneficial to your application. So one of the biggest mistakes is they go and look for properties that's way out of their price range, and then they purchase that property only to get disappointed when we actually submit the deal, because they weren't, properly assessed beforehand. And then another thing as well is customers like to purchase new debt or take on new debt when they purchase a property. So it's nice to have a new car, a new furniture, but please don't do that. So up until registration, I would say avoid any new debt, because a lot of customers will take on new debt, and that could actually jeopardize their entire approval once the banks pick up that they took any additional debt on. So I think one of the key points is focus. So the one thing to look at when approaching a private banker is they don't only do mortgage loans. So they specialize in credit cards, personal loans, facilities. So their main focus isn't home loans. So that's where we come in. We are specialists in that industry. We know exactly how to structure your deal, what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, we submit basically to multiple banks at once. It saves you time at the end of the day. It doesn't cost you anything because our services are free. So you actually, sometimes if you approach a banker, it's basically like going to a mall and getting a t-shirt and not knowing that it was on sale a few other stores later. So you actually have options. You can, compare the banks. You can see what interest rate they are giving you, and that's where a bond originator is really essential to have. Is they do everything on your behalf. So it's really a more convenient thing for a purchaser is to use a bond originator instead of just going to one bank, get one offer, and it actually will end up on you losing any additional benefits that you could have gotten if we applied for you.
Perfect. And so I keep on touching on this like personal aspect. But can we maybe touch on the fact that, for example, if we go directly to a bank, they see thousands of people on a daily basis, like you said, for credit cards, this and that, and car loans and home loans, etc., etc. You're just a number in the paper. They just want to get to the next person afterwards, like just going through the motions. Whereas this is a much more like personal touch as well.
Yes.
If you can maybe just touch slightly on.
So I had a customer previously who applied direct, and she actually was insisting of getting the best offer from them because their private banker, promised them they're going to get the best interest rate, the best benefits. And at the end of the day, she actually lost in interest. So where she could have, got an offer from me for prime -2, up until prime -2. The interest that she could have saved was so much more than just applying to the one bank. So you really do benefit more in that sense. So you can definitely apply for 2 properties at once. If your affordability checks out and your credit profile supports that, then yes, you can definitely apply for 2 properties at once. The banks just want to see there is sustainability, so they need to make sure that you can comfortably, afford 2 properties. And that's where a bond originator is also a good person to have on your side to make sure that if you purchase the one property, is there enough scope left to afford another property? So we do all the checks for you. And another thing is that's how investors also start to build up their property portfolio, is because they buy one property, then use that equity to fund other future properties. So that's usually how property investors start their journeys, by purchasing more than one property, but it's definitely doable.
Fantastic.